Hey alum, so great to be with you. Stoked that you could join us. I'm having a wonderful day today, and it's getting all the better because I'm sitting with two brilliant young ladies who are doing phenomenal things for the King and the Kingdom. Ladies, why don't you introduce yourselves for me?
I'm Lisa Bruda.
And I'm Ella Hooper.
We both work at BCA, Bethel Conservatoire of the Arts. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I work at BCA as the overseer of the dance program.
Come on.
Yes, and I am from Australia, and yes, I have been many things at BCA. Both Lisa and I actually are part of the founding team members at BCA, but I am now what's really the equivalent of the revival group pastor. I'm the student life pastor there, so yeah.
You just said your role has changed a little bit. How long have you guys been at BCA?
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Which is how long? Because we've got alum that are talking
Yeah.
about 22 years now.
So I think it was 2016 is when we did our third year of BSSM. I interned for David Noronha at Bethel Media. He was working there at the time. And then you were with...
I was with Claire and Fab.
So
Altamora.
we kind of, our intern team really became the kind of pioneers who helped start the school. We were building the curriculum. We started marketing, so marketing the school, getting admissions. None of us had any idea how to build a university. And actually, Shane, because I was in your revive group in
Bless
second
God.
year. I know. I got Louise Mandl in first year and then Shane Mandl in second year of BSSM. And your intern Naomi or third year Naomi gave me a prophetic word, and she said, I think you're going to be a part of like the educational mountain. And I've always felt called to business or entertainment. So it was very left of field, and I was like, I'm going to flush that word. And then it wasn't until our first year of running BCA, and I was actually the university liaison with our partner school university, and I was like, that prophetic word is true. I am part of an educational building of the school.
Crazy.
So really, yeah.
Just didn't have a grid for it whilst in second year.
No grid for it.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, you go, I'm going to change the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
We're going to do this thing, and we're going to do different. All of us that were part of the beginning team had some form of experience in the entertainment world, whether it was as a dancer, as an actress, all of that. So we all went in to go, we're going to build this differently, and we're going to bring dance and art and acting into the world in a different way. We didn't fully know what it meant to build a university.
Yes. No idea.
No, building a university is another
thing.
That's a vastly different idea for me.
Yeah.
I got to know you really well in second year. Lisa, I got to know you as well because I don't know if you guys know this, or alum, I don't know if you know this either, but Gabe actually would have us walk around the room the night before registration. And we'd have to select different seats. We'd have to be prayerfully going, God, highlight a few different seats to me. And these will be people that I'll be very intentional about connecting with throughout the course of the year.
Wow.
Lisa was sitting next to her sister. I got these two seats towards the back of the room, and I'm like, oh, I naturally concluded this is going to be a husband and wife, something like that.
Yeah.
And here are these two sweet Dutch girls, and I'm like, oh my gosh. My wife is her family are from Holland as well, so there was a connection there. I was like, oh, this is really cool, really special. But I got to know you through second year as well, or more through third year for you, your sister, primarily through second year. Talk to me about what you learned in BSSM that has helped set you up or facilitate your leadership in the roles you play now in BCA.
Yeah, I think being in your revival group was actually, no. What I will say is there is one thing about like carrying the anointing, but then there's another thing to match it with your character. And I was that person that did not read the John G. Lake book.
I remember this year.
And like there was this, I think what was good, because I think I have you can have sort of a charismatic personality, and something that was powerful, it was like a little Fox's moment, like a little moment of like, check your character. Actually, I skimmed through that book. I'm going to own that. So I know that's not like a big thing, but I think what we have learned through pioneering is there's so much uncertainty, and inside of uncertainty, it triggers your trust issues. And I think that God had to become real in a new way. And but I think character has been a huge thing that has been a stabilizing thing for us, coming back to that. But also knowing, like, translating, Chris Valentin's book on royalty, like, how do I translate that for an artist? And so even I built curriculum in BCA called The Wholehearted Artist, which is really identity. So it was taken from, like, how do we translate this thing of, like, it's in a ministry lane in BSSM, but how do I translate it to the industry?
Yeah.
So for me, the royalty book, and really going through, like, what is an orphan spirit and what is like sonship? And so even just kind of having to wrestle through with that with each other of, like, what does that look like for entertainment world to be a son and daughter in that realm? So I think that's been a big thing of, like, bringing across from BSSM for me. Yeah.
I think for me, I've been trained as a dancer and came into BSSM after years of kind of that gift being broken down because it was never good enough, to the point that I was like, I think I'm just going to quit and put this down. And walking into BSSM, I just came because I wanted to know more about the supernatural, but I think instead God gave me just the understanding of identity.
Yeah.
And I think in the understanding of identity, I learned what it was to be a daughter, to be a woman, to be a leader, to walk into the room and know that I have something to offer and something to give, and that I have a voice, and that I get to be myself and be enough. I think that whole thing of, like, getting rid of the lack mentality and knowing that I am just enough, I think then started seeping back into me picking back up dance and actually being able to love what I would do and love what would come out, and starting to experience my body as beautiful. Kind of that whole restoration around just what dance even was to me was really, powerful. But it really started just from my own journey, where there wasn't a whole lot of dance and there was just me going on that journey of identity. That then, now being in BCA, like, you go, okay, how can I rewrite this then? How can I make sure that there's dancers who can train and who don't have to go through that whole journey of their gift being completely broken down, and they can actually become really healthy, beautiful dancers who know who they are. So I think for me, when I came to BSM, there was no BCA. So God did that whole journey for me to then be able to kind of merge the two together and go, how can I do this as a whole? Because I think what we have as a gift, it's not meant to be so broken.
Yeah. I love that. Gosh, that's a blessing. I hear so many stories about difficulties that people face leaving BSSM and then trying to navigate what does supernatural look like day by day. I guess, it's fair for people who watch this to go, hey, it might be a little different because you're still in Reading, you're still part of the Bethel environment. What obstacles have you guys experienced going, all right, I'm trying to live this out, but it's not BSSM, it's a different context.
Yeah.
I think that what is beautiful, I think even in some hard moments, I can just reach out to Shane Mandl and be like, can I meet with you? Like,
I've done that.
And so I get that, like, people who are alumni have left, don't have the access to the world-class leaders that we do have access to, but I would have to say it has been challenging in the sense of, like, BSSM has been around, is it 30 years now?
22-ish, yeah.
20, okay. But anyway, that's 22 years of figuring out a lot of kinks. It's also a lot of building of momentum in the spirit. And when we came across to starting BCA, we had to pioneer that ourselves, and we're still pioneering it. So I think for us, it's always it's not like we stepped into the ease that Bill Johnson has and many other leaders have created, which, yes, has been an ease in comparison to starting a university separate. But I think we've really had to fight for it. And I remember in the first year of BCA, the power of God would just hit our classes all the time. And I think that it was God really marking our school that year because we did come up against so much opposition. But I remember having an encounter in the hallway, and it was like in a really challenging time. And I remember feeling God scream over me, "This is my school."
Yes.
And because the entertainment industry, a lot of Christians are too scared to face that. Like they're too scared to wrestle through the questions that, like, wow, an actor is playing that character. And like, whereas we're brave enough to like go there and explore it and get it a little bit wrong. But also just knowing that like we're under the covering of Bethel is super powerful, but also knowing that God is our covering and letting that anchor us. But yeah, to come back to your question, I wouldn't say it's just been easy. It's been really challenging, but I think just coming back to the word of the Lord, like, of what he's saying over us. Like we kind of had we know we're meant to be here. This is really challenging, but how do we thrive in this season?
Beautiful.
And get lots of counseling. Lots of counseling.
Yeah, we definitely both have gone that route. I think it's the pioneering thing that even though we were in Reading and we are in this beautiful like oasis of like just God's presence, I think in pioneering something from the ground up where all of us are stepping into something that wasn't before, I think that's where the challenges have been and where you've learned grit and character and commitment and things that you learn in BSSM now got tested and challenged and you had to just keep going after it. And I remember us having many conversations around, do we still have it in us? Okay, I think we do. Or leaning in. Am I still meant to be here? Yep, you're still meant to be here. But it's hard and it feels like I'm sacrificing a lot and you're still meant to be here. And kind of just learning that process after BSSM has been really powerful. I think it's built a lot inside of us.
Yeah. We really do. Nothing much phases us now. We're like, oh, we have to pivot again. We're pivoting again. It's like, okay, like we're not easily offended anymore.
I think at BCA we've said before, wow, we are adaptable. The creatives, we're always kind of trying to figure out where the lines are and where they are not.
Creatives and lines. I mean, that's something of an oxymoron right there. But that's amazing to hear.
When I first started pastoring, I think the one thing I learned is that creatives are kind of meant to break the boxes. And I think the journey as a pastor is to figure out where the lines are so that they don't break everything good and bad and that they learn to figure that out within themselves.
Yes.
But I think as a school, we've noticed we are so adaptable and together as a team, that's been really beautiful to see.
Guys, so much richness. I love the idea of there are things that you took away from BSSM that then got tested.
Yes.
Like, I received. Yes, it was established and determined and set within me. But then, if I'm hearing correctly, it was challenged and actually has gone to another level in part because of that challenge.
I think another thing I would say that comes to mind is in BSSM you learn how to dream big.
Yes.
And that everything is possible with the Lord. And I feel like we walked out of that so much. And honestly, BCA feels like this dream that is bigger than any of us can ever carry on our own. And God has come through in so many ways with things happening so much quicker than actually they should. But at the same time, I think we've also learned how to sometimes lay down our own dreams, to commit to someone else's dream and help build and help serve and actually see the fruit of that. I spent the first year in BCA being like in the dance program and helping teach dance. But as things are being figured out and shifting, when I got married, they asked my husband and I to start pastoring together, which on one hand was such a beautiful opportunity. And on the other hand, for my dancer heart was kind of this thing of like, oh, am I laying it down again? Am I going this route? And the only reason I said yes is because the Lord audibly that morning had told me that they were going to ask this and you were going to say yes. So, so here I am saying yes.
The Lord audibly spoke to you and said, they're going to ask you this.
I got a text message and I heard the Lord say, they're going to ask you to be the pastor and you're going to say yes. I'm like, okay, Lord, here I am. And I did. My husband and I built a pastoral department within BCA for 3 years. And it's a gift because it's grown me and changed me more than I ever thought. Yeah. It was also really hard because it wasn't my first focus or my first dream. And I learned things about myself that I didn't even think were out there or were in there. But it was also going, yep, God, I'm committed and I'm serving here because I feel you're in it. But also, have you forgotten about me? Or where is this dream? Is that still going to happen? And honestly, I've gotten to see God come through above and beyond that. Even in the last couple years, I feel like I've actually, as a dancer, grown more, I've had more opportunities than I even thought were possible. So
tell us about some, because I think it's really significant and really important to go, here I was going, am I laying this down? And then here you say, but there's been opportunities. And that's not a rule, but if I lay something down, God has to give something back to me. But I'm intrigued to hear the opportunities and celebrate with you.
I love that. He had, I did a dance conservatory during all my teenage years. And fresh out of conservatory, I went to Houston and danced with a dance company there for a season. And then they offered me a contract, but I wasn't ready for it yet to move my whole life to America. I was young. There was a lot going on at home. So I said no to it and stayed in the Netherlands. And then life took me in a different direction. I went to BSSM, pursued here, stayed with BCA. And then the director of that company, 7 years later, shows up in Reading to do a project here with Bethel Dance. And so all of a sudden I'm back in the studio with him, which was actually really beautiful because it's where you go, wow, it's 7 years later right now, have I changed? Because I know what it was like to dance when I was 18 there, but is it different now? And something he said that was really powerful actually after my rehearsal process with him is he took me aside afterwards and he's like, Lisa, you sometimes might wonder if it was all worth it to lay things down and go on that journey. He's like, but you've come back a stronger dancer. And I can see like the level of health that you have and strength that you have and who you are is amazing to work with. And then he asked me to go on tour with him. So then I spent 5 weeks touring Europe with a professional dance company. That was something I dreamed of and hadn't happened in a while, just because, so it's that journey where actually God brought something back from 7 years ago that then got a whole new opportunity and it was different. So in the midst of laying things down, actually I got a lot back in that.
I think, because I trained to be an actress as well in Australia, and like I would cry with passion about it. Like you could tell, like it was like a anointed, the Lord is on this kind of thing. And then, I got so burnt by it and then laid it fully down. And then I remember I'd finished my first year of BSSM and the people would ask me back home, like, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And I would be like frustrated because I'm like, people just think I went on some spiritual holiday. Like, what has happened? And then I remember my friend, who is also an alumni, she said to me, Ella, you can't tell people what you're doing because it's not created yet. And so when BCA came about, it was like a full circle dream of like, laying down a lot of things. But then BCA became the dream that I didn't know I had. But then also there is this thing of like, because we all create expectations when we get prophetic words, we think it's going to look a certain way. So then it's like you have the hope infused moment and then there's the death. So it's like, I think both of us have had to, even in my roles at BCA, it's been a laying down and dying, but also BCA has been the best gift for me because it's been a space where I can experiment and like even personally being able to build my own curriculum and now being asked to speak on that to artists. And I actually am an artist, like I life coached people in Asia, in the entertainment industry, in Hollywood, and so God's kind of set me up and built in the hiddenness some authority in this space. And so to me, I'm like, now that I'm stepping into more pastoring, I'm like, oh, this is another dream I didn't know I had. This feels really like, I think both of us can attest to God being faithful. And I remember hearing that for the first time in BSSM, but now I can like say, oh, that's true. Yeah. That feels true.
It's really learning that the dreams and the prophetic words you have, it might look different than what you think. But if you are close to the Lord and you hear his voice, that he'll lead you to bigger things. So I shifted roles this year from pastoring to actually taking over the dance program, which was this really big surprise that I was like, wow, God, I didn't know that this is what you had for me. But honestly, I could not have done this role without 3 years of pastoring.
Yes.
And there's something about now looking back and you're like, oh, we didn't take a detour. Like this was actually all part of the bigger plan. And there's all these things inside of me that I didn't think were in me, and God knows. So he gives you opportunities for them to grow if you want to.
Come on.
It's really cool.
So impressive. I love it. And thanks for covering my coughing fit, by the way. Good Lord, what happened there? Anyway, tell me some of your favorite testimonies. You've got different roles under your belts for each of you.
Yeah.
Tell me some testimonies. Like, it's easy for people to hear, excuse me, testimonies coming out of BSSM and people going, oh, we know and we have ideas of what God's doing. What is God doing in BCA? What do the testimonies even look like?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to go or? I think to explain, like, this is something that we had to learn because with our acting program, we're with the students for 3 years, and the focus is to train them in acting. We're training them in a craft, so different to BSSM where we're training in signs and wonders and miracles, like the emphasis and the stories are surrounding that. Not that we do have healing miracles, we do have those sort of things, but really ours are more heart transformation processes, because what we notice as an actor, you have to like stand up in front of people and it's very vulnerable and you get critiqued all the time. So a lot of the testimonies are connected to identity and their stories. And I think what one of our alumni at BCA recently, was signed to one of the biggest managers in the in the world. No big deal.
That's incredible.
Yes, and then recently shot a movie, was in a movie playing, even though he's like 30, played like a 18-year-old or something. Anyway, so he's like playing a pretty big role, and the movie comes out early next year with some really big names in the movie. And I think just hearing his heart process, because the industry is so, even though you have so many highs and lows in the entertainment industry, and watching him unwavering in his pursuit of Jesus is, I think, a huge thing. And even him being so self-aware of his heart in like being on set and how he shows up and what he says, actually, I'm not going to do that because that's not in my identity to do that. And just actually seeing like, oh, you've really got conviction, and that's partly him, but it's also, he's a part of community with BCA as we navigate, the industry. But I think a big thing for us is we have heard of, people who've done all 3 years of BSSM with perfect makeup and never cried at all. I don't know how you go through BSSM not crying. And then all of a sudden come to BCA where you cannot hide, all of a sudden stripped of makeup, and then going, this is the first time I've learned how to love myself. And so a lot of our stories are connected to really seeing people it's like an integration that happens of like, I've heard the prophetic words and calls over my life, then I had to get up and do something or had to be in the craft. And so you see people actually begin to renew their mind and step into who they really are born to be. And whether that's in leadership, I've seen people step up in leadership and but yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. And then also financial testimonies are also amazing, because a lot of things, people hold back from going to a creative arts school because of finances.
Totally.
And so,
And it's a commitment to a 3-year program.
3-year program. We do have 1-year programs, like 1-year
Yeah.
dance, film
Okay.
and new media,
Yeah.
screenwriting. But the commitment is like college level prices. It's not BSSM prices.
Yeah.
And so I think what's fun is watching them say yes to their own dreams and their own hearts, but then seeing the Lord provide for them as
on.
well. And you know, one of our students, he already had a degree and he got all of his student loan debt forgiven. And
Wow.
so just like hearing testimonies like that and
Yeah.
feasting on those testimonies, like, yeah, it's really exciting.
Come on.
So,
I think
Yeah.
some of what happens in BCA, I think with it being a college and it being so honed in on a focus, is people really are learning how to live this like everyday life, kind of, how do you say it? It's a very protected area on one hand, but on the other hand, it also isn't as much because it's college and you're getting grades for everything that you're doing, and you need a job and you have student loans, and wow, this is a lot more depth, and there's like so much more that they're navigating that I think it challenges them to build all these kind of like established foundations in their life to be able to have a sustainable life beyond. So I think some of our
yeah.
testimonies are really about actually people fully like changing their life around and building this like ecosystem and belief system that's just really helpful beyond like I would say when I was pastoring, some of the biggest testimonies were around family restoration.
Yes.
And some of the biggest financial testimonies have been family members who were like, this is what you've talked about since you were a kid, so now I'm going to financially support you.
Wow.
And things like that has been really beautiful to hear how linked it actually has been to people's families.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For me, I find the like BCA period is a testimony. I'm like, oh,
It kind of is.
it really is. I mean, you know, when I was a student back in BSSM, it was, hey, the 7 mountains, and I'm going,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, BCA is people dreaming and stepping out and going after the things of God.
Yeah.
Bethel Tech, people dreaming and going out after the things of God. And I could keep on going with the others, but
Yeah.
anything in particular stand out where you go, oh, I am excited about what God is doing in this regard or in this way concerning BCA?
I'm excited about the prophetic and storytelling.
Come on.
Because
Yeah.
we think, you know, we have this thing of like, get into politics to change politics. Okay, great. But actually, it's the narrative that needs to change. And so who holds the key to the narrative? It's the storyteller. It's the entertainment industry. And so I get excited. BSSM taught us that we could think big.
Yeah.
And now we've had the privilege of experimenting what that looks like. Like getting it a little bit wrong to get it right. But also I think what I get excited about is even our screenwriters thinking that like they've had it takes like years for a story to go from like an idea to a movie. And to think like God has been stirring people's hearts, these stories, and I think it's a matter of like I even have a client her book is being turned into a movie, and it's so culturally relevant in kingdom right now.
Yeah.
But she was doing that 10 years ago. So I think what I'm excited about is seeing stories out there that are a part of the conversation that's happening, but filled with wisdom. And so, I get excited to be a part of that. And I really do believe if we create wholeness and we go after healing of our own stories, that we can tell whole stories. I get excited to be a part of that. And I really do think that it was like God's just waiting for us to say, yeah, we'll go. We don't know what we're doing, but we'll try it out. So I'm excited to see what will keep on happening through BCA with storytelling and, real leaders in the industry. I'm excited about that.
Come on.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
I second
Lisa.
that. I second that. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can add to that. I think I just love every student walks into BCA and they start feeling known and start to encounter how they can go after the thing they love without having to break down others or break down themselves.
Yeah.
and to build, kind of to get a movement together where in connection and communication and community with each other, we actually can go a lot further. I think that actually is the story of BCA.
Yes.
BCA as a whole has been a group of people who have learned to accept, love, support, and not be all little orphans together who have to protect our own little island, because that's the creativity world for you.
Yes.
The entertainment world is I have to protect what I have, and to get to build something that's bigger than us. And I think for that to also come through in our students, that when they collaborate with their creativity or whatever else they have in their life, and to go after that and really get to bring that into the world. I think that's what I'm currently very excited about.
Come on.
Yeah.
10 years' time, where are you guys? Where's BCA? I know that's a very similar question in terms of what are you excited about, but that was short term. I'm going a bit longer. What do you think? Like, how much influence can BCA have?
I mean, I just get excited with the connections we're already making with big influences. I mean, and what can happen because of that, not for the sake of influences, but I get excited by that. I think, I'm excited about the stories that will be told in the future that can bring healing.
Yes. Yeah.
I think what has been fun about BCA is, because I worked in the admissions land for BCA for a little bit there, I've done all the things, but was hearing constantly from people, we found people that think the same way as us. It's like we have all these people off in the earth going, like they're creatives, but they feel alone in their craft. And what is fun is for people to say, oh, you put language to something that's been in my heart. And if we can have a community of people where we're all going after the same thing together, then what I get excited about is the movies that will come from that, from collaboration and from, the dance pieces that move an audience, the healings that will happen from creativity. And I can just see in 5 years there's been an acceleration, and man, in 10 years' time, I would be, watch out, Hollywood.
I also pray and believe that in 10 years' time, there's been a reawakening in the church of what the power of creativity, of storytelling, of movement, of art, and that we actually understand that it's this beautiful way how God speaks without us having to use our words. And I think it bypasses people's brain and goes into their heart. And I think in today's society, where so much is a debate from our own opinions and our own thoughts, to go back to like the power of storytelling and of movement, to just get to connect to people's hearts. I think I pray that the church I feel like there's a reawakening that needs to happen for that to be found. So that's my prayer for the church. And I know that as BCA, that's really, we don't necessarily train our students to just stay in the church world. I think our heart's actually really that they go out and infiltrate other places and be a light, which is most of the testimonies we have. But I think that's our heart as BCA.
But the church too.
But that the church actually, and we don't want the church to stay behind. If anything, we hope the church wakes up to actually lead it in there. And I think that's what we're trying to do in our environment now. So in 10 years, I pray that has been grown, and that there's I feel like there's just something new we get to discover. Yeah.
Incredible. Ella, Lisa, thank you so much for coming and spending time. It's been a real gift. I don't get to see you guys anywhere near enough anymore. And I'm like, actually, for my own spirit, it's good to hear what you guys are up to and what you're doing. Alum, what a treat to hear from these incredible young ladies. If you have children that are thinking about the arts, if you, niece, nephew, if you're thinking about the arts, hey, I don't think there's an age limit or whatever else. Check it out. It's an incredible school. There was one thing they mentioned that I just want to highlight, but they talked about people who have gone off, the early graduates who have gone off and they're doing the stuff, but they actually remain connected to BCA. They hear that differently. There's support mechanisms. And I don't think that any other place can say that there's a support mechanism in the creative world. It's kind of like you're in your thing and you move to your next thing. But at BCA, there is this incredible opportunity to know support and to know support, care, mutual benefit and blessing as you share your story, you get to be heard, but you also get to hear others, be challenged, be inspired, etc., etc. So think about, keep it in mind, if there's people around you to whom that might apply, check out BCA, and by all means, send them a note, get more information. These ladies are incredible. They would readily be available, or the team would be readily available to answer your questions and things like that. Alum, also keep your eye out, because this is so good for me that I'm sitting here deciding I'm going to do this with others. I'm going to do this with Bethel Tech. I'm going to do this with just any alum that I can get to come and sit here with me so that you can hear the stories of alum around the world. So we bless you. Thanks for joining us. We went a little over time. Yep, just a little. But 10 minutes by the looks of things. But we love you. Hope you enjoyed hearing the stories. By all means, feel free to post questions. Let us know what you'd like more information on, and we'll try and interact accordingly. Take care. Catch you guys soon.